Hello, 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 hello out there. I don't have my contacts in, so I will be straining my eyes to see who's in here, or who joins, but welcome. Uh, as you can see, I got my I got my sauna set on 140, and I'm about 26 minutes in right now. Um, I got in here when it was probably about I want to say like 38 minutes or something like that. I noticed that with the home infrared sauna, if you really want to get the good benefit out of it, you should definitely, once you plug it in and set your degree temperature to however you want it to, whatever temperature you want it set at, shut the door and give it some time to warm up first before stepping in. And that way you can instantly, it'll instantly start. You know, as soon as you get in here, you'll start feeling the the, the heat, the sweat. Like I'm already sweating, and I really haven't been in here that long. But um, just to give y'all a quick update, I don't have my fingers wrapped right now, but my middle finger. The last time I was on here and I was telling y'all I was headed out to my MMA practice, which I do MMA um, training. I try to do that about 4 or 5 days out of the week. Last Saturday, when I was in MMA training, I fractured my middle finger on a takedown. So ever since that happened, I kind of been like, just on injured reserve. Even though my instructor did tell me that like we were only working on kicks this week, so I could have actually still came to the gym. Um, I just decided not to, and just took the time off. Right now, I am in the DMV area, so as of right now, we are experiencing a snowstorm, um, which really to me is was kind of overhyped. I don't think we got that much of what they was predicting. Um, but it is what it is. Hope everybody in the area is enjoying the time, with their family, friends, close ones, and just taking the time to, you know, give back to yourself if you can. If you wasn't forced to go to work, some of us was forced to go to work. Hello, I got about 15 people in here. Welcome. Like I said before, I don't have my contacts in, so I gotta go real close up on the screen to see even who's in here. But I just want to talk about want to talk about some things. First of all, I want to talk about uh, just lately with the journey. I always like to talk about the journey, right? Because I don't like to leave anything out, and I don't never want to come off as being perfect in my journey because I'm far from perfect. I've been lately, the last couple of weeks, I've been extremely like inconsistent. Um, and I mean, is that normal? Like, do you kind of feel like inconsistent sometimes? I mean, like, and if you do, what do you do to get yourself back on track? Um, because I've been inconsistent, with just everything lately. I mean, when I jammed my finger at MMA training last Saturday, I went to urgent care. I was hoping that it wasn't broke, which luckily it's not broke, but it's still swollen. It's still very, very swollen, and I can't bend my close my hand all the way. I can't make like a tight fist with my left hand right now. So they told me to wear like the tape around it. So I was doing that. I took that off just to take a break from that. But like even with the infrared sauna, like just being consistent with this, just to get back on the consistency talk, I was telling myself like, okay, I'm gonna do this at least 3 days out of the week. And at one point I was, I was doing it 3 days out of the week. And then all of a sudden, I just stopped. Um, I stopped, and I did notice some benefits doing it every day. It definitely helps. It definitely helps stress relief. I'm a person that can stress a lot of times, over the small. And I noticed that, the more I came in here, just give myself like 30 minutes in here in the sauna, it helped. It helped a lot. Um, I do battle with anxiety, so you know, um, it helps with my anxiety, and it just gives me that time. Just sitting here, it gives me that time to just sit in silence. You know, a lot of times we're surrounded by so much noise and so many habits that we have, especially with me. Like, and when I say noise, I mean like even picking up the phone, just that habit of me constantly picking up the phone and checking my different social media accounts and checking my, text messages. And it's like, it's just so much noise that I just love coming to, and just being able to just sit, in my sauna at times. It's just peace and quiet. It gives me that time. I normally keep it at 140. Uh, that's the highest that mine goes. It goes to 140 degrees. And I'll stay in here for about 30 minutes. Um, Breaking a sweat right now. But yeah, I used to have high blood pressure. So I try to use a lot of tactics and different tools and things of that nature to always, attack that, from me from getting it again or whatever the case may be. To prevent it. That's the word I'm looking for, to prevent it from happening, and it runs on my mother's side of the family. So I am very, very easy, to contracting high blood. It's not a it's not a thing of it's not a thing of uh, when I can get it, or it's pretty much it can happen at any time. You know, with my diet is not consistent, um, so I try to be as consistent as I can when I'm working out and doing the sauna and drinking water and stuff like that, so I don't get high blood pressure again. I was on 30 milligrams of lisinopril a day. I used to take that, probably that's been now about over 8, 9 years ago. So hello, hello, um, welcome to the channel. I don't have my contacts in, so that's why I'm kind of squinching. I'm not naked. I'm not naked. Um, I'm not naked. I would not be on here naked. I'm in my sauna, my infrared sauna. I'm from the DMV area. I'm from like right outside of DC area, like the Southern Maryland area. Right now, we got a snowstorm going on in our area right now. So, um, everything is pretty much on lockdown. Um, and I've been pretty much procrastinating about getting into my sauna. So I said, let me start making this a habit again of getting in my sauna. Oh, you're in Arizona. Okay, okay. Shout out to Arizona. My aunt lives in Arizona. She always tries to get me to relocate to Arizona. I was going to relocate to Arizona at one point in time, probably right before the pandemic. The prices of houses and everything in that area was good before then. But when I went to Vegas, about like this was right after the pandemic, I was talking to a lot of different people that live in that area and outside of Vegas and in those type of areas, and they said that the prices shot up because everybody moved there. So it kind of made me just like change my mind from moving to Arizona. But yeah, Arizona is pretty cool. The weather is always pretty cool in Arizona. So I have to come to make a visit there. I need to come there to see my visit my aunt. My aunt is like she's almost 90 and she gets around. So, yeah, shout out to Arizona, definitely. Um the west that West Coast vibe is always it's all I've never had a negative time, on that side. I can honestly say the vibe and the people there was always was cool, always was dope people. Um but yeah, just me getting back to my rambling as I always like to do. Um okay, okay, for sure, for sure, for sure, for sure. Def- um but again, the infrared sauna, you know, um I've noticed that I sweat much more in here than I do with your traditional, I guess it's like your steam saunas. Um, but I can kind of withstand to stay in here a little longer. Um, of course, I don't like to get in a sauna, so, but I'm not naked. But I don't like to have my shirt on in a sauna. So, you know, uh, it again, it has its benefits. Um, if you don't know like my backstory, um, I was obese all my life, and pretty much I had gastric sleeve surgery back in 2018 of December, and from that point on, um, I changed my whole entire lifestyle. So it took time to develop, but I knew that I wanted that change, and I always wanted to look the way that I look, even when I was 345 pounds. At 345 pounds, I was that size, probably pretty much all my life. I mean, and even when I was in high school, I was 300 pounds. I was just always a fat guy, a fat boy. So, but I do want to highlight, like, even with the weight loss surgery, um, prior to the weight surgery, they will make you do at least like 6 months of nutritional classes. So I learned a lot about nutrition. I learned a lot in those classes about how to read labels, um, what is, read the back of those labels, what's in, what the ingredients are in this stuff, and, you know, um, the sugar, the grams, and what is sugar, alcohol. grams, and what is that? What does that do to the body? Because it's a lot of sugar, alcohol, and a lot of your protein bars. So if you ever look at like protein bars and stuff, and you see that it contains sugar, alcohol, what that does is it actually gives you sensation, like you feel more fuller. Um, but according to when I was going to the nutritional classes and everything, they was telling me that I don't want that number if I'm looking for a protein bar. Like I don't want the protein bar to be no more than like 180 calories, and I don't want the sugar content in the protein bar shouldn't be past like 5 milligrams, and the sugar alcohol shouldn't be past like I think it was like 3 milligrams or something like that. I can't remember. But just being on this journey and eating the type of snacks that I eat now, s- you know, 8, 9 years later, I mean, it's still some habits that, I'm still battling with. I still battle with, my potato chips. Sometimes I'm going to eat some potato chips. At times I'm going to eat, uh, I may have a piece of cheesecake sometimes. Um, Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you, bro. Good to see you. Um, and I appreciate you. Just even tuning into my little channel and listening to me ramble on. Uh, but I'm supposed to be talking about the benefits of my infrared sauna, but I'm just having some small talk with y'all right now. Um, just about not being, and it's okay. I know we look at a lot of content every day. We look at a lot of people on YouTube, Instagram, and I follow a lot of these people. A lot of these people's content. I I looked up to. I look at on a daily basis. I use a lot of their routines and everything. But I had to learn that, I can't measure myself and I shouldn't measure myself off of, other people. I shouldn't measure myself off of somebody else's page and somebody else's content and somebody else's character. We have to measure ourselves off of, through our own actions. This is it's a personal journey. That's why they call it personal training, because it's very, very personal. And what I've learned is, I've learned to try not to beat myself up so much about it. I don't want to beat myself up about my mistakes. And then I go on Instagram and I'm looking at all these people, who are fit and lean all year round, and I'm kind of yo-yoing. After the holidays, I'm yo-yoing with my diet because I done put a little extra on the plate on Thanksgiving, and then I said it's okay, and then I put a little extra more on there on the Christmas dinner and New Year's, and now I'm saying it's a new year, new me, and but I still haven't bounced back from my palate going back to those plates on Thanksgiving. So it's a journey, it's a battle that you have